Hey everybody, welcome to the Farmer Hunt YouTube channel. If you're new here, I'm Ben. I'm a poultry and cattle farmer in Alabama. We've got an exciting couple weeks coming up here. It's breeding season on the farms. We've got about 40 cows, mostly mama cows, but a few heifers that we're setting up to do some artificial insemination. We've already done our bull selection. We've selected two different bulls. One of them is from the Schaff Angus Valley farm in North Dakota. It's SAV Rainfall. The other is a Mead Magnitude bull from the Mead farms in Missouri. The Mead farm bull, the Magnitude bull, is sex semen, so we're hoping to just get heifers off of this one. The SAV Rainfall, we didn't have the option to do sex semen, so it's just regular semen. Basically, we'll be setting these cows up, getting them ready to breed. First step is inserting a CIDR. It's a controlled internal drug release. It's basically progesterone. We'll put this in the back of the cow and also give them a shot of Factrel. It is a synthetic GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, that leads to the production of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which basically starts the egg production process. So we'll leave these CIDRs in for 7 days. We'll go back, we'll take the CIDRs out, give them a shot of Lutalyse. Lutalyse basically starts the heat process. So once they get this shot of Lutalyse, we'll start the timer, and then usually within 60 to 66 hours, those cows and heifers will come in heat. And the way you know that they've come in heat is we'll put a heat patch on the back of them. And once the cow's in heat, they'll usually start riding each other. So this heat patch will turn from silver to a kind of orangish pink color. So we'll be able to go out and tell when they are actually coming in heat. We'll actually start checking them about 24 hours after we put the heat patches on, just to see. Sometimes they come in early, others will come in a little bit late. If you put this much time and effort into breeding them, you want to try to breed every single one that you can. The way it usually works is we'll check them on average probably 3 or 4 different times a day. If we go over in the morning and we see that a patch has changed, then that particular animal will be bred in about 12 hours. So basically, once we see that the patch has changed colors, we will breed them at the next heat detect or next breeding cycle. So in the morning time, if it's turned, we'll breed it in that afternoon. That evening, if it's turned, we'll breed it first thing in the morning. A lot of times, we'll give them another shot of that Factrel when we stick the semen in, just to make sure that that egg is released. Any little thing that we can do to make that semen and egg meet up and hopefully have a good conception rate. Anyway, we're going to get all these set up. Hopefully we'll get some good footage and can kind of show you about our process.
So these are the pack of CIDRs that we're going to use. There's, I think there's 10 in each. And we'll show, as we load those in the gun, kind of how that process goes. We got the guns in the disinfectant. We'll also give them a shot of Factrel. And then when we remove CIDRs, it'll be time to start putting them into sink for breeding. Applicators that you put in a disinfected bucket. This is the actual CIDR. These are working better to load this certain way. The lead that you actually pull it out from, if you face that down, flip this up, squeeze and load it into your gun. It leaves that tail hanging up, but then when we insert it in the cow, we'll actually turn it upside down to insert. Then we take this portion, we have lube. First, we get the cow as clean as what we can. She's probably the messiest one we've seen yet. Like I said, you flip that down, insert at a 45-degree angle, pick up just a little bit. Get it there, pull the trigger. which releases the CIDR. That's all there is to it. Put that back in the disinfectant. And then we're also given a shot of Factrel.
2 milliliters in the neck.
And if you come down here and look, we're also worming more with the safeguard. You just insert it and you squeeze it slow. The cow on their weights, we're putting 25 milliliters in. If you squeeze it too fast like that, they're more apt to spit it back out. Try to go slow so that they won't spit any out. Farmer Hunt's gonna try his luck with this one.
We've got our cow locked in the squeeze chute, got our CIDR put in, got it flipped up. She was pretty clean on the back side. We're gonna go ahead and just wipe her off a little bit just to make sure. We're gonna insert at a 45-degree angle. Once you get on in, you can level it out. Push it on in. Got my string hanging down. You want to make sure that string hangs down, that way it's less likely for another cow to come up and bite it or whatever and pull it out. So if it's hanging up like this, those cows see it more. So we've got it hanging down in the right direction and she's good to go. Today is day 7 in the breeding cycle, so we put the CIDRS in day 1. Now we're going back and we're going to pull the CIDRS out. We'll put a heat patch on the back of each cow and we're going to give them a shot of Lutalyse, which basically is getting them ready to release that egg. We should be breeding these in about 60 to 66 hours. So the heat patch, we put it on the back. When the cow starts going into heat, they'll start riding each other. So this heat patch will change colors. Once we see that color change, we'll know that she is pretty much ready to breed, and we'll go ahead and stick the semen in. So we'll have some videos showing kind of what we're going to do today, and then we'll be getting to breeding in a couple days. Got the cows up, so starting out, I'm gonna pull the CIDR. Just grab the little blue cord, it comes right out. And we're gonna put on the heat patch. So just use a curry comb, brush her a little bit, get it cleaned up. You wanna make sure that heat patch is gonna stick. Wipe it off, get her good ready. Heat patch, stick it on right here, make sure it goes on good. It's gray right now. When the cow's in heat and they start riding each other, this will turn like a neon orange. You can see it pretty good and you'll know she's ready to breed. We'll give her a shot of Lutalyse in the neck, and also a shot of vaccine. Vaccinate them yearly. The Lutalyse gets her ready to breed in about 2 days. Everything's been through the squeeze chute. We've got it worked. Everything's had the CIDR pulled out, the shot of Lutalyse, and the vaccine. So we'll start checking these in about 48 hours. Usually about 60 to 66 hours after you take the CIDR out is when you breed them. we'll start heat checking them Tuesday evening. If anything's turning Tuesday evening, we'll breed it first thing Wednesday morning. We'll probably have about 3 or 4 breedings, so probably Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, Thursday evening, possibly into Friday, just kind of seeing how they do. But hopefully we'll get some good results out of it and get some of these cows bred. First morning of heat detect, we're out here in the pasture. Well, there's a quick example right there. You see the cow that's doing the mounting, her patch is silver, but the one that she is actually mounting has turned orange. So that cow right there, we'll write down her tag number, and she'll be bred this afternoon. Last night when we took a look at them, she had not turned, so she's not quite ready to breed. But now that she's turned this morning, we'll put her down to breed this afternoon. The one that was doing the mounting, her tag is still silver, so she's not ready to breed yet, but hopefully her time's coming. We'll ride along and see if we have any others that are ready. You can see up the hill there's a couple more that look like they've turned, so looks like we're going to have several that need to be bred this afternoon. A lot of times we'll take a look at these patches and see if they're partially turned. We may or may not breed them. We'll try to write down everything that we can. That way we've got good notes 9 months down the road. When these calves start coming in, we want to make sure we know who was bred to what, what's an AI bull, what's SAV rainfall, what's mead magnitude. Going to check some more patches. Hopefully I can find a partially turned one just to kind of show you what that looks like. When we're breeding on the partially turned ones, sometimes we'll just kind of watch the animal and see how they're acting, see what they're doing. If we think that they may be ready, we'll go ahead and get them in the squeeze chute. And a lot of times we'll give them a shot of that Factrel, and that'll cause them to release that egg if they haven't already released it. You're better off to go ahead and breed something a little bit early than to be late. If you're late, a lot of times they'll miss and they won't take. So if we have a partial, a lot of times we end up going ahead and getting it bred that afternoon. So here's some more. One of these has a partially turned tag. We're going to watch her a little bit, but more than likely we're going to go ahead and get this one in the squeeze chute this afternoon. Give it a shot of Factrel. Let me right up here and see if you can see. See, there's still a little bit of silver on that tag, so it's not fully turned, but she's being ridden enough to go ahead and get that tag or that heat patch started. I don't know exactly how many times a cow has to be mounted for that to change. It's more than once or twice, but usually when they're starting to get in full heat, they'll be constantly riding, especially with so many in this pasture together. They're all riding each other, so they'll turn pretty quickly once they're actually in heat, and that way you kind of know, alright, that one is getting the squeeze chute, and go ahead and breed it. So we're going to go ahead and get these, start rounding up what we can this afternoon, and we'll do some breeding.
Oh, he's going to do the AI for us today.
Get the gun loaded.
Loading the straw semen into the gun, putting a protective sheath over it.
You always want to make sure that your semen is coming up like it's supposed to.
He puts it in there to keep it warm till he gets back to the squeeze chute. That's the tank where the semen stays stored with the liquid nitrogen.
If I normally doing this, I'd have cleaned my truck this morning.
Alright, we're going to see the pro at work. Alright, Cole's ready for the first one of the day. We'll let him explain kind of what he's doing.
First thing I always want to do is go in and just locate the cervix. Once I got the cervix located, I'm going to make sure you clean everything. You definitely don't want to take any bacteria in with you. You just want to go in at a 45-degree angle.
Tell us what you're trying to do now, Carl.
What I'm working on now is just taking the cervix and working the gun. The cervix has three rings in it, and you just want to work the gun back through the cervix to the uterine body, and that's where you're going to place the semen. Once you get the gun through the cervix, you just want to double check that your placement's good, and then just slowly push your plunger and deposit the semen, and hopefully in 9 months we'll have a baby calf.
Hopefully Cole's officially a dad.
Maybe.
So we're breeding this cow to rainfall 6846. It would be a South Angus Valley bull back to a Gibbs cow. And we'll take some more videos and kind of show you the processes. We've already removed the heat patch, and we'll actually tell about the shot of Factrel. Reason for it. Tell them why we give that, Cole.
That's what it'll do is it makes sure that cow releases her egg. If her egg hasn't been released yet, it will release the egg, so that now that the semen's in there, make sure that they meet in a timely manner. It's just a kind of a safety precaution. Normally if you do heat detect, it's not necessary, but it's definitely not detrimental. So we always just do that just to make sure that we've got everything lined up and help our chances of getting a pregnancy.
Kind of a safety protocol.
That's exactly it.
All right, on to the next one. In the chute, we selected and we pre-select who we're going to breed her to. So now we know which one's in the chute. Cole's going to show you how to pull a straw of semen. We're going to pull another straw of rainfall, and you'll put it in a thaw unit. Kind of tell them what you're doing and why.
This is a thaw unit. This water's at 95 degrees, and what you're going to do, your semen stays in there for 45 seconds at least. It can stand there up to 15 minutes. You know, in case you have a hiccup, you don't have to panic. You do have time. So you just pull a straw of semen out. You try to keep it as low down in there as you can, just not to expose it to the outside air and temperature mainly. I always like to fill everything back up. While I'm letting that thaw, I try to get all my other stuff ready.
Isn't there a light on that, Cole? Green and
Yeah, there is a green light.
And that green light tells you that the water's at the correct temperature, right?
Right.
If that light is red, it means that the water, well, I know it means the water's too cool, but would it also do if it's too warm?
It should never get too warm. If it gets too warm, I try to always calibrate mine before we start breeding season.
Gotcha. So the only way it's going to be red is if it's too cool.
Right. It's just it's still in the heating process. Once it gets green, you're good to go. Now, sometimes if you drop a straw immediately after it turns green, it's going to flash back to red. So I like to give it, a few minutes after it turns green. This is our Factrel, our GnRH shot.
And you can see in this tank, you can see how many different canisters are in there. There's a spot for 6 different ones, but that's probably going to hold what, 500 or 600 straws?
You can put, this tank probably will hold maybe 400 straws.
Okay.
So this is what I consider my servicing tank. We've got some bigger tanks that we use for storage. This one's pretty easy to move around, and I try to only bring the semen that I'm using so that we're not riding around with a lot of unnecessary semen. You get your straw semen out, you want to get it dry. There's 2 things that will kill semen. That's water and blood. So you want to get your straw dried off before you cut it. This is called a CIDR cutter. You just slide, it's a crimped end. Just slide it up in there and it will bottom out. I got one hung in there. It's not cutting smooth. Get your sheath out, and it's got a little blue tab in there that'll click, and it's holding it in place. Insert into your breeding gun. And you just want to make sure your semen's coming up right.
And also, this is regular semen. Like I said, this is off a rainfall shaft bull. We've got some sex semen that we're putting in certain cows that have AI'd the way we wanted to in the past on time, because it's half the size of the regular semen. This is what, quarter cc?
Quarter cc.
And this is a half cc.
Conventional is half cc.
Okay. All right. We'll show you another one on breed. Cole's actually going to inseminate her with sex semen. It's off a bull Mead magnitude. We're putting female sex semen because last year we were wanting heifers, and of course got all bulls. So this year we're trying to put a little bit more of a curve on it and try to put the sex semen in. So we'll show you show how Cole does it. Same procedure and everything, except the straw is half the size, right, Cole?
Correct. And then you want to keep everything clean. You go in at about a 45-degree angle, and that's so that there's an opening just inside the vulva, the bladder opening. You want to always go in and go above that. And like I said before, I always find the cervix before I ever enter with my gun, and then just work the cervix over the gun. This one was actually really easy, so I'm where I want to be. You just slowly plunge. I like to plunge about half. Just go back and double check that my gun's still where I want it, which is in the uterine body. And then I just insert the rest of the semen, and hopefully we'll have another generation of cows to breed.
Heifer calves. So, and we understand that conception rate is not as good with that, but we're willing to take the chance because we had so many bulls last year. We're really pulling for heifers. So worst case scenario, we've got some good cleanup bulls, and they'll take care of her. But what do you drop, Cole, on average? Is it what, 10 to 15% conception rate?
That's what they say. I don't hardly think it's that much if you'll be selective in what you put it in. You know, you take cows that have a really good heat, that you know your time frame's just right, that's took AI before. I think, you know, there's a lot of factors that you can do to improve your conception rate on sex semen. You know,
which is what we're doing here, right? I mean, showing the paper on the advice of Cole. Basically, you can see here where we have looked at last year and noted every cow that took AI and that had an AI calf, and those are the ones that we are putting the sex semen in because they're the most fertile, they're the most aggressive on breeding. So to offset some of the conception percentage loss, we're actually going with some of the cows that have in the past done the best job of breeding back. So, you know, these aren't heifers. A few were mixed in heifers. Most of these are actually on this will be their third calf. And so we are trying, like I said, trying to get more females into the herd this year. We're going to be lost out because we had so many bulls. So,
and a lot of that is it's not the actual service of the cow, it's her reaction to the drugs in the process of setting up. That's where I feel like the biggest difference in cows taking AI and not taking AI is how they respond to the drug. So it's not necessarily the actual service that you've seen today, it's the response to the drug that's the difference.
We'll show you turning her out, and I'll show you some of we got a few out here that are going to be this afternoon. I'll show you the heat patches. So most of these have been worked. This is just a random group that was caught, and I think there was a patch or two out here. Maybe, yeah, there's some over there. But we've got about 8 yeah, there's one here and one over there. So what happened was they turned last night early morning, so we'll breed those this afternoon. It's a little early for those. These are 16 model calves. The cows are now, so they're coming up on 3 years old, or 3 years old now.
time gets by.
The last straw of semen has been put in. Everything that came into heat had semen put in it. If it didn't come into heat, we turned them back out in the pasture, and that's what the cleanup bull's for. The cleanup bulls go in tomorrow, so they'll be responsible for breeding anything that didn't have semen put in it. We typically get about a 70% conception rate from the AI, so not everything that had semen put in it will actually take. So the cleanup bull will also be responsible for breeding all those. A cow usually cycles about every 18 to 21 days. So these that we just put semen in, if they don't take in about 18 or 21 days, we'll be back in heat, and then hopefully the bull will breed them then. We'll leave the bull in for 60 days. He'll breed everything in there. We'll usually pregnancy check everything probably sometime in February. So any cow that's still open, we usually look at removing them from our herd. If they don't have good fertility, we don't really want them in our herd or don't want to keep offspring off those animals. So hopefully we'll hit that 70 to 80% conception rate. With the sex semen, a lot of times your conception rate's a little bit lower. I convinced Eric to go with that sex semen, even though you don't always have as good of a conception rate. So hopefully that'll be a good move on our part. We're really hoping to get some heifers off of these animals and keep those, so that way we can add them back to our herd. But thank you for watching our video. Leave us comments at the end, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our page.